by 2030. After the twin shocks of the COVID pandemic and the flood last year, we are now beginning to see signs of recovery, with our economy growing positively and more job opportunities created through policies and interventions. Certainly, we still have many challenges, but as one quote says, we don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. And in our development trajectory, since the restoration of our independence 20 years ago, we have proved what Sonia Gandhi, an Indian politician, said: together we can face any challenges as deep as the ocean and as high as the sky. With the twin shocks of the coronavirus and the flood of last year, our healthcare system was put to test. Our resilience was somehow reduced, and our slow response to unmet needs of the poor and those affected by the shocks brought our GDP back to where we were in 2013. Yet, our relationship goes beyond donor-recipient. It's a partnership. Your role has greatly contributed to the strengthening of our national health system, helped improve the system of surveillance, prevention, control, management, and combating the pandemic through the establishment of a new laboratory, quarantine and isolation facilities, distribution and storage services for vaccines and medicines, which today greatly help us to mitigate the effects of the spread of the virus. Also, the partnerships were extended to other areas. For example, in the consolidation of our social security system, making the distribution of subsidies and assistance to the vulnerable families and individuals simpler and quicker, creating job opportunities to many. Your support has enabled major emblematic operations, such as the provision of basic food basket and the National Vaccination Plan against COVID-19, and the list goes on. I would like to take this opportunity to convey to all of you our deep gratitude and appreciation for the important role that development partners have played in the past year. We continue to count on you as we grow. Ladies and gentlemen, we began this year with a significant milestone in the area of budgeting and public finance management, with the promulgation of the Public Finance Management Law by the President of the Republic after very long discussions that began in 2015. The MPs presented more than 100 proposals for amendment, which the government accepted and included in the final draft. Out of 116 articles, only 12 were voted against, clearly demonstrating that the MPs understood the importance of approving such a law. In the last few months, the development partners, as well as some organizations, began to insist on the approval of the law, which to us, this means that even those outside Timor-Leste regard this as a decisive step for the country. A few more regulations will have to be approved by the Council of Ministers to ease the implementation of the PFM law. With the promulgation of the PFM law, the budgeting process, like in most of the countries, will consist of two phases. One being the definition of annual priorities, which will involve the Parliament through the approval of the Big Plan Options Law. In Portuguese, we say Lei das Grandes Opções do Plano. This will be presented to Parliament on the 10th of May, and the second phase, the approval of the budget law itself, to be presented on the 1st of October this year. The new PFM law will allow more participation of the Parliament and civil society in the annual policies and measures to be financed, which up until recently the discussions were centered on numbers. The new law will require more responsibilities on the side of the executive for failing to deliver. The end result will be more efficiency in the use of public monies to stimulate growth, improve equality, and enhance people's well-being. Allow me to also inform you that the Council of Ministers will soon discuss and approve the new procurement law and public contracts and infringements. It is an important instrument that will help the government to better implement their programs and projects, reduce costs on government purchasing, reduce corruption, increase value for money, increase tax compliance, and trust in government. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, last year was a difficult one due to the application of various restrictions of movement due to the surge of COVID-19 cases. However, the real implementation rate was 73%, $1.4 billion. This is the second highest rate since 2016, which contributed to a positive growth rate of the GDP. And more detailed information will be presented by my colleague, Director General Alex, on the budget of 2021 and 2022. One subject that continues to bother us and we need to discuss in this year's Quarterly Development Partner Meeting is COVID-19. This is because the fight against the global pandemic is not over yet. As of last week, Timor-Leste registered total cases of COVID-19 over 22,000, with active cases of over 900. Our vaccination rate at the national level reached 72.3% for the first dose and 61% for the second dose. Besides that, Timor-Leste is also facing another public health challenge, with the rising of cases of dengue, reaching up to 2,400 cases, and it caused already more than 30 casualties. In the second presentation, the Minister of Health, Her Excellency Dr. Odete Bello, will be sharing information on the current public health situation related to COVID-19 pandemic, dengue, and perhaps other contagious diseases such as tuberculosis. Ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, this is also a year of the presidential election, a very important event that is part of our democratic process. We would like to see a greater, more inclusive and peaceful election to ensure the rule of law and democratic governance will prevail in the country. We have with us today representatives of the National Electoral Commission who will be sharing information on this matter. The remaining time of our meeting today will be for discussion. This is perhaps the appropriate session for discussing any new activities that both the government and development partners